Hey everyone, I am back with another video. Those of you that don't know me, my name is Tracy Jackson and I help nurses and health professionals to pay the least amount in taxes while increasing their cash flow so that they can find freedom away from the bedside. Okay, so if you have clicked on this video, chances are you are wondering how can you get a pay raise, right? How can a nurse or health professional get an instant pay raise? If you have clicked on this video and you're not a nurse or a health professional, don't worry. This information still applies or can apply to you, and I will show you how in just a moment. So I'm looking at myself on this screen here, and I am totally burnt from the sun. So please excuse that I'm like peeling all over. But so cool. So let's get to the information. So Okay, so what we're looking at here with this instant pay raise estimator, let's just backtrack for a second. If you are not just a nurse or a health professional, but if you are a W-2 worker, okay, you could have any type of job and you work for an employer and you do not have a business, okay? If you don't have a business, you are most likely paying the most in taxes, okay? That's just a reality. All right, the tax law was not really created, unfortunately, to benefit just someone who has a family, just working a W-2. Nothing wrong with that. But if you are just working a job, one or two jobs, you don't have a business, we pay the most in taxes, okay? So there is a way to get around that if you had a business, of course, a legitimate business that you have an intent to make a profit. So MWR Financial if you're wondering, so that this is where this tool kind of comes from. It's a program that I do refer people to who have financial needs, okay? So it could be tax related, it could be debt that you're trying to pay off, it could be retirement or investment strategies that you're trying to build. It's a really valuable program. You could have credit issues that you're trying to work on, but this pay raise estimator is related to if you were to have an MWR Financial home-based business, or if you have a business in general. These are common deductions that are available to you, all right? And with this estimator, it shows based off of the average expenses that you would have, specifically to some personal expenses that you would normally have as just a human being, right? As a family or an individual. If you had a business, you would be able to write those things off, or a portion of some of those things off. So for those nurses or health professionals or anyone that don't have a business, MWR Financial is an option, all right? And it shows you the way that you could be able to write off those expenses and how much it would look like. Okay, now this is just an example, but I love this estimator because it gives you at the end, once you plug in the numbers, it shows you your estimated instant pay raise. All right, so where does that pay raise come from? So when you fill out your W-4, that most people don't know how to fill out correctly, all right, so we may look at the first page, we may not really read through the whole thing. Most people haven't read through the whole thing. But that's one of the things that MWR Financial um, professionals help with, to make sure that you're filling that out correctly. But if you are able to adjust your deductions, okay, based off of certain things that you have going on, so you have your regular things like your if you have children, if you're married, if you have certain credits and those types of things, will allow you to adjust your W-4, meaning it will take less money out the more deductions that you have. Well, if you have a business, you are allowed more deductions, because basically at the end of the year, it's going to hopefully balance out to what you actually owe the IRS. Okay, so you're kind of estimating what you think you would owe in taxes based off of your complete situation. But most people cannot, put certain deductions on there because they don't have a business. Okay, so there's the first part is doing your deductions based off of your personal situation, and then the second part would allow you additional deductions, all right, based off of if you have a business. All right, so because you're going to have additional expenses, you're going to have those things going on. So if you were to have a business, let's say with MWR Financial, doesn't have to be this business, but if you have a business, 1 through 7 shows if you have a car. All right, most people have a car, especially if you're a nurse. Now you may take the bus or something like that, and that's fine too. But if you have a car, that is a huge deduction with your business, as well as your cell phone, your internet, business meals, travel expenses, health insurance if that applies, and hiring your children. And then we're going to go through these briefly. Now I've plugged in sample numbers. Okay, so just we're going to guesstimate about, and you can use this. I will put the link below if you want to click on this estimator and kind of put your numbers in. But if you drive, okay, if you have a business and you drive, you are able to write off 58 cents per mile of those business related miles. Okay, so that's what the current rate is. Typically you wouldn't be able to write off your miles. Now I'm going to say this, especially if you're a nurse or a health professional. Some of you do not know this, but you no longer can write off your miles that are related to your work. Okay, so let's say you're a home health nurse and your job reimburses you maybe 30 cents a mile. Normally on your taxes, you would be able to write off that additional 28 cents. You can no longer do that as of now. So that can be a big difference for some people, but if you had a business, all right, you would be able to write off miles in that case, okay, that were related to your business. So there's a way that you can, you know, get additional deductions, but you do, again, have to have a legitimate business with the intent to make profit, and you do have to track that information as far as the number of miles you drive. So that's just FYI. But I just put a guesstimate here. So this is actually taking 70% of the mileage that you put in here, and it's based off of monthly expenses. So it's going to multiply it by 12 for each of these areas. So I just put in, let's say you drive 600 miles a month, and so it's going to take 70% of that, and it's going to give you your additional potential deductions here. Cell phone expenses. So normally we use our cell phone for personal expenses. For that portion that you do use for business, which this could be related to getting on conference calls, it could be related to talking with clients, it could be related to setting up appointments or whatever you use your phone for business. An average monthly expense might be $150. And there are ways that you can take 100% of that if you have it your business set up correctly. Your internet expense, we're just saying, I say average of, that might be kind of high, but 75-ish to 120 based off of whatever speed you have. All right, we're just guesstimating here. And then, so internet, why can you write that off for a business if you are getting on, let's say, Zoom sessions, or you're using internet to place orders? I mean, pretty much most business happens over the internet, right? So you can write off a portion of that. And your business meals. So let's say that you are going out for, you know, to discuss with a client, or if you're going to a conference that you are purchasing a meal at, anything that you're doing that's business related. I will give you guys an example. Okay, I'll give you an example. I went to a field trip with my son, and there was a mom there, and we went to breakfast, but we were actually going to breakfast to discuss how she was going to get started in business with me. Okay, so because we went to breakfast with the intent, even though I was on a field trip, I was able to write that meal off because I discussed business. We actually were planning how she was going to get started and what she was going to do and so forth. So if you have business related meals, you can write off a portion of that. I believe it's 50% still. Um, Again, let me just say the tax law does change. All right, it changes frequently. And if you guys can see in small letters down here, it does say some disclaimers that this is really just for demonstration purposes. It does say that tax law does change. It does change frequently. So things will be added or changed on this calculator based off of what the current law is saying. Okay, so we're just using this as a guide. So for travel expenses, business trips, let's just say you only took one trip, maybe that was business related. And so I just kind of divided it into like maybe $100 a month. Let's say the total trip was about 1,200. You're going to add this up kind of differently when you're tracking in your log. And I'm going to do a video on the log that I use, but I just put 100, so it kind of evens out to about 1,200 for your travel expense. And then whatever your health insurance premium is, let's just say 300 a month. Let's say you have a child, you and your child. That might be lowballing it, but because insurance is kind of expensive. But if this area applies to you, we'll just put 400 per month. And then here is a cool thing that I'm actually going to be more specifically setting up for myself. I do have a 12-year-old who helps me with my business. So this is really cool, you guys, and could be huge for a lot of people. You are able to hire your child if you have age 7 to 17 years old. And if you have it set up correctly, again, I'll probably do another video on that. It's a whole another thing. But if you have it set up correctly to where you're actually paying your child a salary and not an allowance, you cannot write off an allowance, right? You can't write off, you know, paying for sports. You can't write off purchasing shoes or whatever for them, but you can write off if you pay them a salary. So if your child's able to do duties like, you know, taking the trash out in your office, cleaning your office, filing, labeling, whatever. For example, my son likes to edit videos and do different things like that. So there's different things that you can hire them for, and you can actually write off up to 12,000 per year. All right. So in this, which is huge, you guys, which can really equate to a decent tax savings. So for example, instead of if you had profit, let's say $10,000 in your business, instead of paying taxes on 10,000, and you paid your child 5,000 to work for you. This is just a basic example. You would only have to pay self-employment tax on the 5,000 instead of the 10,000. Okay, and I'm sure you would have more deductions, but that's just a simple example. All right, so the more deductions that you have, okay, whether it equate to your business having to pay less taxes on your income from your business or less taxes from your job. Okay, so that's where this transfers over. So if you actually end up, which if you're starting a new business, you may end up showing a loss. Well, you probably end up showing a loss in the beginning. You tend to have more expenses than you do have profit, and that's okay for a little bit. But that's when you start being able to decrease how much taxes you have to pay at your employer. Okay, so that's a good thing to take advantage of if you have it set up correctly. So I just put one here. Let's say you have one child, and so this is assuming that you paid them $5,000. So in saying all that, okay, so I wanted to go over what this thing looks like. So your total annual deductions would be in this scenario. Of course, it's going to vary. The numbers aren't going to be clear and cut like that. It's going to be very different. But 17,763 is the total deductions that it added up here just on these 7, you guys. And actually, there is a lot more than that. You still could use the home office deduction. I mean, there's lots of other deductions up here. It says 180 possible. There's probably a couple more than that. But these are the main ones that people use. Now, assuming that you have an average tax, this is going off of an average tax bracket, okay, based off of the national average. If you know what yours is, you can definitely click here and change it. but it's going to be on 18%. And so this is estimating that your estimated pay raise would be around $266 a month, which would be an $3,197, okay, in savings. All right, so this is the type of increase that you could potentially see if you had a business. All right. So I said all that to say that if you are a W-2 worker and you could be a nurse, a health professional, or just anyone with a job, I cannot stress this enough. And those of you that know me, I've had a part-time business for 12 years, the whole time that I've been a nurse. And I will share my story if this is the first video that you're hopping on, kind of how I ended up even talking about business, finance, taxes. It's because I saw going through my nursing journey, the amount of nurses that didn't really understand their tax situation, their financial situation, and they were really running themselves into the ground, trying to make money. Yes, we get paid great money. Yes, the career is rewarding. It is probably to me, I think the best career. Of course, I'm biased, but whatever. It's an amazing career. But the reason why I am specifically helping nurses and health professionals because it doesn't last forever, and it's something that you can easily burn out on. And with me having an extra additional source of income, I never had to worry about working overtime. I never had to worry about them shorting my hours. I never had to worry about you know, if I had enough time, time PTO or anything like that, because I always had additional income. I was able to put my child through private school and that type of thing, right? With my additional income. So it just gives you an additional peace of mind. And in this case, and what I'm speaking about is you definitely don't want to, number one, if you're a W-2 worker, you don't want to be overpaying in taxes, which many of you are. That's money that you could be keeping during the year. So for example, most people can really see an increase of $300 to $600 a month. And if you think about it, that additional $300 to $600 a month that you can get just from not overpaying, you can do that immediately, right? Just by adjusting your W-4, which is what our professionals can help you with, or I can help you with as well. Just by doing that, you are now able to potentially cut down some of the overtime that you're working, right? That's money that you're already making, but you're just giving too much away. All right, so that's number one. Number two, if you do not have a business, I don't care if it's MWR Financial. It doesn't have to be in business with me, but if you don't have some kind of business, you are paying the most amount of taxes, and there is a way for you to change that. All right, and some people, they will think that it has to be some kind of big business. When you say, oh, I can't run a business, or I'm too busy to run like a business, they think it has to be some kind of like corporation or Chick-fil-A or something where they have to, spend a lot of time and a lot of hours. I have worked full time this whole time and had a part-time business and was able to constantly generate income. When I say a business, it could be part-time, and it could be something that is a skill set that you have. It could be sewing, it could be babysitting, it could be doing hair, it could be, providing, it could be cooking for other people. Whatever your passion is, whatever that you love to do could be turned into a legitimate business. It's just that people don't know how to do that, or how simple it could be, to generate that additional income. So if you're watching this video, you don't have a business, you don't know how to generate additional income, you want to see how you can increase your take-home pay at your job, all right, we can help you to do that. I want you to go ahead and click the link below where you see my calendar. You can schedule a 15-minute consultation with me just so we can go over and see if you qualify for the instant pay raise. Hopefully this video made sense to you and what I went over, but I can definitely provide clarity on a call, or if you want to post any questions or comments or anything that you want to put, well, not anything, but any questions that you might have below this video. I thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure before you hop off, definitely subscribe to my channel. I know that I have been kind of in and out with my videos because I really don't like to make videos. I'm just being honest. I have a lot of content, a lot of topics, a lot of information to share with you all relating to nursing, relating to how I can help nurses and health professionals with their tax situation. But not only that, just to help them to generate additional income so that they can just have a little more freedom outside of what they're doing at their career and their job. But again, I always get this question is, why you always talk about nurses? Why you can't help me? You know, can you help the average person? And yes, you know, this program applies to that, but also my services, you know, can apply to, I can help all kinds of individuals. Okay, you don't have to be a nurse or a health professional, but that is my love. That is my passion. So that's why I speak to that. But you know, the content will be valuable to most people. So definitely subscribe. Definitely share this information if you know someone that it can be valuable to. And just inbox me if you have any questions as well, because I'm sure I will share this on Facebook as well. So my next video, I'm probably going to be talking about what I use to actually track expenses. So if you are a nurse, especially if you're like a home health nurse or if you're a travel nurse, one that needs to track their deductions, or actually any nurse could use this, or if you have a business. Okay, I'm going to show you guys. One of my strong points is actually tracking deductions and organizing finances and that type of thing. So I have a lot of fun with that. So I'm going to show you how I keep up with all of my business expenses and or personal expenses, so that when tax time comes, I am more prepared, and hopefully it will be helpful to you to be more prepared as well. All right, because that can be a stressful time. So I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.